I'm Lindsey Stanberry, and this is Family Money. I've been interviewing people about their money stories for more than a decade, and I've been a mom for just about as long. Needless to say, I have lots of thoughts on kids and money.
You really talk about how women tend to feel uncomfortable talking about money.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's scary, right? I hear from people who want to have kids all the time. How do you actually afford to have a kid? But that's why we're here. That's what we're doing with Family Money. We're offering you advice and tips and tricks, and you're going to hear from amazing experts to help put you at ease. Welcome to Family Money. Since we started working on this podcast, we've been getting so many questions from you about your family money. Today is a Mailbag episode where we have our experts weigh in on all the things you're curious about. Our guests today are a married couple. Heather and Doug Boneparth co-authored the book Money Together: How to Find Fairness in Your Relationship and Become an Unstoppable Financial Team. Heather and Doug, I'm so excited that you're here today. You literally wrote the book on couples and money, and there's nothing quite like having a baby to completely upend your financial life. So we've got some questions from our audience, and I'd love to get your thoughts on them. Heather, this one's for you because I feel like you know a lot about insurance. I had a complicated delivery, and my daughter spent 2 weeks in the NICU. We're fine, she's healthy and home, but we're now looking at $18,000 in medical debt after insurance. We didn't have that kind of money before this happened, and we definitely don't have it now. What do other parents do about a medical emergency and when it derails everything? Are there options we might not know about?
Well, I think it's a terrible thing when this happens. There are so many women that find themselves staring down an unexpected medical bill on the back end of a childbirth. And there's kind of a cadence of remedies you can move through before you look to outside financial resources or other options. I think the first thing you want to do always is ask for the itemized bill.
Okay.
That is step one. Yeah. Because you would be shocked at the amount of duplicate entries, incorrect coding. Right. Sometimes we see, look, it happened to me that there was an outside LLC that my anesthesiologist worked for, and they were billed as out of network and uncovered, and I received a $5,000 bill that went to collections. We didn't even know about it. These things happen all the time in major healthcare systems. So I think, first of all, it's incredibly important to ask for an itemized bill. Next, you want to always appeal. Just because they said it was not covered the first time doesn't mean you shouldn't appeal. Maybe appeal twice.
You're calling your insurance company in this case to appeal.
You are calling your insurance company to appeal in this moment. And there are things you can pull out from the bill itself. You are armed with your full statement of expenses. You can ask questions, ask as many questions as you want. You are entitled to those responses. So you want to appeal. After you appeal, whatever they say, then you can go back to the healthcare provider who may have sent you this bill. And you could say, hey, I've got $18,000 here. I want to know what my options are from your financial services department. There are often options available to help someone in this situation so that this is not financially devastating for them. One thing they offer often is a no interest payment plan.
Yeah, and that's key, right? That
Critical.
Zero interest, right?
Critical.
Do not put it on your credit card.
Absolutely do not just say, I'm so afraid of this big bad bill, I'm going to either open up a credit card or I'm going to put this on my credit card.
It's far, far better to somehow bake this into cash flow in a way that maybe you can afford or stretches you than now have the juice running on a credit card.
Exactly. But only in speaking with their financial department will you get these resources and these options. So you can look for no interest payment plans. They also almost, oh man, I wish I knew the statistic off the top of my head, but it's something like between 60 and 70% of people who ask for a reduction in their bill will receive one.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
It's another ask and ye shall receive situation. So you don't sleep on just asking, okay? So these few things together, plus they have financial assistance programs, both through the healthcare provider and through also your state may have them as well. There are medical advocacy groups that can help you kind of work out the best ways to approach this. You're not in this alone. It's not just you and the piece of paper. There are so many steps you can take to help reduce this bill. And I'd be curious to know from you too, Doug, let's say whatever amount you are left with, it's still an unexpected expense. Where should you maybe pull this from?
Yeah, so typically there's an order of operations depending on how much planning you've done. This is why I'm such a big fan of the cash reserve, right? Is that you don't need to go into debt or sell assets that are earmarked for other purposes, like your retirement or your kids' college, just to handle an emergency or an opportunity for that matter. So if you have cash, clearly that's the first place to go. If you have the opportunity or investments outside of retirement accounts, assets, yes, unfortunately, you'll be selling them, but you'll want to do that in the most tax-advantaged way. Be mindful of your gains and save those retirement accounts as kind of the option of last resort. Roth IRAs do have some more flexibility. There's loans against 401ks as well. Now we're taking on debt. So if we're now going down that avenue, right? Credit card debt last is almost always toxic. Other options may be on the table when it comes to what you can borrow against retirement plans. Again, not most savory of options here, but that's a general idea of the pathway you want to go down when you're thinking of exhausting your resources.
And then going back to talking to your insurance company or talking to the hospital, I always like to tell people if you don't like the first person you talk to, hang up and call back.
100%.
I've done that with the cell phone companies so many times.
And by the way, even if you think you've found a contact over there, you could lose that contact just as like, you have to just be relentless about it. Don't feel bad.
No.
I give Heather a lot of credit. Like the word advocacy here, just like I am with the technology providers, Heather is that good when it comes to really being unrelenting with providers.
I'll share this one thing too. You want to create a story. So it's about keeping receipts and it's about keeping a timeline and it's about your ability to concisely share that timeline with whoever that decision maker is on the other end of the phone. And as you go on, the timeline gets a little bit longer. Like I've made these appeals. I've spoken with financial services. Keeping receipts, keeping a timeline, and being able to concisely share that with the person who's the decision maker, either via email, via letter, or via phone, is critical.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so for our next question, they write in, we're not maxing out everything. We're doing what we can. When it comes to 401k versus Roth IRA versus index funds versus high yield savings account, how do you actually decide what gets the money first? Is there a hierarchy that makes sense for most families, or does it really just depend?
Now we're talking about where to contribute money. So first and foremost, we'll start with that cash reserve. If we do not have typical rule of thumb, 3 to 6 months of your living expenses in cash, I mean, this is the warmest safety blanket in your financial life you're going to get. Life is volatile. It will do what it does. You want to be able to withstand those shocks. Having a nice warm blanket of cash is going to help you do just that. By the way, that goes in a high yield savings account, not just in your checking account. If we establish our cash reserve, right, 3, 6, 9, 12, if you're super nervous, that can be a lot of money for folks. If we get past the cash reserve, I'm looking for the free money, right? So if you have an employer sponsored retirement plan, like a 401k, and there's a matching contribution, go get that free money. And then it gets a little subjective here.
Okay.
You know, if you're in a good spot and it's about saving on taxes and putting money away for a specific goal like retirement, keep going with the retirement plans. Those 401ks go up to a pretty large amount this year, $24,500. Roth IRAs are very effective too. You might be able to do both of these things. But if you need more flexibility than that, or you're not quite sure, you know you need to invest, but you're not quite sure if this is specifically for retirement, which is way down the road, let's say, or you might need this in the intermediate term, 4 to 7 years out. This is where those brokerage accounts, these taxable accounts become very handy. These are the individual products or strategies found within the accounts. That applies to, you know, retirement plans just as much as it does your brokerage accounts. So just want to create that delineation there. That's generally it. And in the most perfect world, ready? Fully funded cash reserve, maxing out all your retirement plans, including that HSA, and then regularly contributing to a taxable brokerage account. If you have arrived at that point, oh my God, platinum star status. You are accumulating wealth. You're really, really crushing it.
You can just go and spend that extra money.
I want you to spend for every dollar. Yeah, well, let's talk about that, right? Lifestyle creep always seems to be the thing that gets in the way of maybe effectively getting to those goals. Psychologically speaking, I want you to increase your lifestyle. Yeah, you working hard, go treat yourself. Take that extra vacation. But for every dollar, here's the framework. For every dollar you're spending more because you've earned it or you got a bonus, whatever it may be, I want you to think of it in multiples of like 5 to 1, 10 to 1.
Okay.
I want you to put $5 away for every additional dollar that you've decided to spend towards lifestyle. Whether it's 5 or 10, you get my point.
Yeah.
I want it to outweigh, if not dwarf, the dollar that you're spending more. So you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. This is a great one. We don't have kids yet, but we're starting to try in the next few months. I've read the USDA's $300K per child stat. So that's $300,000 to raise a child from birth to 18. No small amount of money. But when I try to actually map out what it costs to raise 3 or 4 kids, I can't make the math work in a way that doesn't make me feel insane. We earn well and save aggressively, but what does the real non-Instagram version of family financial planning look like for people who actually want a big family?
So there's 2 parts to this, right? The part that the person asking the question I think is going to really like, and the part that they're probably not going to like. The math might not math.
Right.
I see people fall into this trap a little bit. You don't know what you don't know. Right. And I think you got to come to terms with that a little bit here. So again, give yourself, let's say this nicely, give yourself space and grace. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, you're saving well, right? You earn well.
Yeah.
You're already thinking about these things. You're probably doing more than 99% of people are doing. So give yourself some credit.
Yes.
You'll likely be the perfect candidate to navigate this in not knowing stuff.
Right.
Let's go to the stuff you know. This is the part they're going to like, right? This is where, all right, first, let's get a relative measure here. Are we talking about, you know, living in a 2-bedroom in Brooklyn and dealing with the high cost of living and raising kids there? Or are we talking about, I don't know, Missouri in a 5-bedroom house where cost of living is a lot cheaper, right? That's huge. I mean, right, that in there, geography and where you choose to be is a big piece of that, right?
That's a great point.
So I think let's get that relative measurement. And oh my God, social media and Instagram is going to do an absolute terrible job of showing you reality.
Yes.
They know this, but it still lives like rent-free in people's heads.
It's so weird.
So, okay, you can do the work and the research locally where you are or where you want to be and start thinking about what are the big decisions, sacrifices, changes you're going to be making in your lifestyle. If you are adamant that they need to go to the good preschool around the corner, well, what are you going to trade for that if you can't make the numbers work?
Yeah.
Right? Or are you going to sacrifice that? Did you account for the fact that after that preschool experience, they're in public schools, things get softer? Maybe you should be planning really for years where, you know, they're in diapers or those first 3 to 5 years where it's really, really hard.
Right.
Survive that while continuing to earn and thrive in your careers. I'm going to say you got most of it pretty much figured out here. You're zero confidence in your ability right now because you don't know. All of a sudden is like a 9 out of 10. So it's very dynamic.
Yes.
I do not have all the answers. And I think one of the main issues with this question is you're looking for answers you are not going to find.
Yeah.
And that is okay.
Yeah. I do think that that number is so eye-popping, but when you start to peel away like what that really means, you know, it's an average, it's sort of made up out of thin air, right? Like what it really costs.
We can look at the data, like mean, median, and mode, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
What is the,
There's still choices to be made within those numbers. And I think that that's your point, right? Is that it's not just a question of can we afford children and can we afford this many children? It's how do we want to live? And being able to answer those questions, that's critical.
Yeah, I love that. How do we want to live? It's so important. Well, thank you both so much. This was so wonderful.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
The Money Together authors came in hot, starting with a listener staring down $18,000 in NICU bills. The big takeaways? Never pay the first number. Get the itemized bill. Duplicate charges and coding errors happen all the time. Heather had a doctor's bill that went to collections before she even knew it existed. Appeal? Then appeal again. Consider a no from insurance to be the opening offer. The hospital's financial services department is your friend. No interest payment plans exist, and most people who simply ask for a bill reduction get one. Do not put medical debt on a credit card. There are usually better payment options with much lower interest rates. Be relentless. Keep receipts. Keep a timeline. And if you don't like the person you're dealing with on the phone, hang up and call back. Doug, who's a certified financial planner, answered a reader question on where your money should go first when there are so many competing priorities. 1, start with your cash reserves, aka your savings account. 2, Make sure you're taking advantage of your 401k match if it's offered. It's basically free money. 3, additional money should be funneled into personal retirement accounts. And finally, an investment account. Doug's anti-lifestyle creep rule is 1 to steal. For every $1 you spend treating yourself, put $5 to $10 in savings. Future you will be so grateful. And who can forget about the couple trying to figure out if they can afford to have 4 kids? Let's take a deep breath. That $300K per kid number that everyone likes to throw around, it's an average. It's not a prophecy. Where you live matters more than almost anything. But let's be real. Instagram is lying to you. The real question isn't, can we afford kids? It's, how do we want to live? We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back. Next up, I'm talking to Corinne Low, who's an economist at the Wharton School of Business. She wrote this great book, Having It All, where she reframes the cost of childcare from it being a cost burden on the mom to being a family expense that everyone benefits from. So we've got some reader questions, and I wanted to throw them out to you. First up, I'm a 29-year-old with a 2-year-old, and I've been telling myself I'll get serious about money once things calm down. They haven't calmed down. We're not in debt, but we basically have no retirement savings and no real plan. At what point does "we'll catch up later" stop being realistic? And what does it actually mean to catch up when you're starting so late?
Okay. You are doing okay. You said you're 29 years old, like you are doing okay. Here are the 2 things that I want you to not wait on. 1, if you have high interest credit card debt, then I do want you to make that a priority in your budget to be working towards paying that off because that is just costing you so much money over time.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you or your spouse's employer offers a 401k match, that is 100% return on any money that you put into it.
Yeah.
It's free money. And so not putting that money in has a big opportunity cost. Those are the 2 things I'd like you to try to get in order before your kid goes to pre-K or kindergarten. But if you're having another kid, you might have a period where you're not saving more than that, just whatever your 401k match is. And it's never going to be more than 5% of your paycheck. You might have another period of like 5 years if you're going to have another kid where you're not saving more than that. And I am your economist bestie here telling you that that is okay, that I don't want you to feel bad about that because you're getting through this period and then you still have a lot of earnings years to sock money away. But just make sure that you do take that time to, once your youngest kid goes to whether it's pre-K or kindergarten, whenever it's free, once that happens, that's the time that I want you to sit down with your spouse and kind of do a little financial reorganization and decide how you're going to start putting more into investments.
Yeah, arguably you could take some of that money that you're already paying toward daycare and like put it directly into right? Like you're already not used to that money. Don't ever get used to it.
Earmarked that daycare money and now put it towards your long-term saving goals. Absolutely.
My next question is, my husband and I fight more about money than anything else. Not because we spend recklessly, but because he genuinely shuts down when the topic comes up. He had a really difficult financial childhood, and I think it's trauma, honestly. How do you get on the same page with a partner who finds money conversations overwhelming or painful?
That is so tough.
It's so tough.
And everybody has some money baggage that they bring into a relationship with them. I grew up really poor, but also with a mom who had a lot of money stress and didn't feel very in control about money. Yeah. And so even in times when I've been earning more money, I always feel stressed about money. It feels hard for me to spend money, hard for me to make financial decisions. It's easier for me to automate things. So I get it. And I think, everybody brings their baggage into the relationship. My very gentle suggestion here is that this doesn't sound like it's relationship work. Some of this is his work to do. And so I feel like it's telling your spouse, I've noticed these conversations really stress you out. We always end up fighting. Yeah. Would you be willing to speak to a therapist on your own about what this is bringing up for you and how we can minimize stress in those moments? Because we actually do need to have these conversations. And then I would be remiss as a woman who is divorced if I didn't tell you that at the same time, while you're waiting for hopefully to be able to have that better, more collaborative conversation together, you always need to protect yourself. You always need to have your own financial house in order, right? So you should speak to a financial advisor or, get your own strategy nailed down, kind of irrespective of what happens in that relationship, which is also important. I also want you to invest in, but I just think we always, as women, have to look out for ourselves and if there are kids in the picture and our kids as a bottom line. And I went through being in a relationship with somebody who had very different, I told you I'm divorced, very different approach to money than I did. And I'm so glad that I kept my frugality and my approach to money during that whole thing because it meant that me and my son were able to land on our feet after that divorce.
That's such great advice. I love it. Thank you so much, Corinne.
Thank you.
Corinne, our economist, has some words of encouragement for everyone. 29 with no retirement savings? You're okay. Just do 2 things now. Pay off any high-interest credit card debt and grab your full 401k match. Don't panic if you're saving less during the daycare years. But the day your youngest starts free pre-K or kindergarten, that daycare money should go straight towards saving for the future. You're already living without it. Don't get reacquainted. Married to someone who shuts down when it comes time to have money conversations? Some of that is their work to do. Meanwhile, protect yourself. Keep your own financial house in order. Corinne's frugality allowed her to land on her feet and thrive as a single mom post-divorce. Our next guest, Farnoosh Torabi, is a financial expert and a mom of 2, and she's really going to break down all the different options out there and help you feel really secure and confident when you are starting to make these decisions for your family. So we're doing Mailbag.
Yay.
And it's questions from baby list families. So the writer says, I'm 14 weeks pregnant and starting to stress about budgeting. My insurance covers most medical expenses, but I'm looking at roughly $3,000 out of pocket for labor and delivery, plus probably $5,000 to $6,000 in the first year for baby gear supplies. My maternity leave is 12 weeks at 60% pay. Should I be saving enough to cover it all at once? Or is there a smarter way to sequence these costs so I'm not paying for everything right as I go on leave?
Yeah.
I feel like the first year expenses, baby gear stuff feels high. $5,000 to $6,000?
Yeah, and absolutely don't be worried about that right now.
Right?
Because that's what a baby shower is for.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Throw yourself a really big baby shower. Have no qualms about that. No reservations. I think the more immediate thing to start planning and saving for medical expenses.
Yes.
That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
That being said, look, I mean, I recommend this, speaking of medical expenses, call the hospital, talk to your medical care provider. What are some ways that I can save on my delivery? I'm not trying to cut corners,
Right.
but our doctor was like, look, depending on the room you get, it could be cheaper. Depending on what time you check in, it could be cheaper, truly.
Interesting.
Because the clock starts, right, at midnight. If you check in at 11:55, that is one day, 11:55 p.m. Between 11:55 p.m. and midnight, it is one day, Lindsay. And then midnight is day 2, okay? So you have those contractions, hold them for 5 more minutes, girl. So that you know what I'm saying? So just informing yourself of what is actually in that itemized bill. Because that $3,000 to whatever dollars she said could actually be less with a little bit of research. But even said, okay, thousands of dollars we're talking about, but that is something that we want to start saving for now. That's important. I agree with you, though, that the baby gear stuff, that is flexible.
Right.
You can shop around for that.
Right.
And that is something that family and friends can pitch in to get for you.
Yeah. We had another guest on a meal, and I was talking about when I was super pregnant, I was so nervous that I didn't have enough places to put the baby. And I think that there's a lot of this anxiety of like, you don't have enough stuff. But in fact,
you have so much stuff.
You have so much stuff, and your baby probably doesn't need as much stuff as you think.
The best way is to, if she's got a partner, this is a great exercise. Whenever there's a huge expense coming up down the pipeline, whether it's a baby or you're saving up to buy a home, as an experiment, try to go and live on one person's salary for even just 3 or 4 months. See how far you can really stretch the budget. Park that person's paycheck somewhere and put a label on it and say, this is going to be the other 40%.
Yeah.
Do it until you get to that 40%.
Yeah.
And just have that as a reserve for down the road.
Yeah. Having that extra money, that's such a smart idea. The next question is, we have a toddler and we have twins on the way. And my husband is leaving his job when they arrive because 3 kids in daycare would cost more than his salary. So we've run the numbers and we genuinely might be in the red every month. What are budgeting strategies that have moved the needles for families who find themselves in this situation?
So I got to be fair and ask, is it just that we're looking at his income and not their total income, right?
Good question.
So, 3 kids is a lot.
3 kids is a lot. 3 kids in daycare is a lot.
I'm going to guess that even their total salary, they got
overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. 3 kids in daycare is a lot of money.
It is.
Are there ways where they can work with other families to bring down the cost? Can they talk to the daycare? Although they're going to have a baby, but for the other 2 kids, have they even talked to the daycare about sibling discounts? Can a parent come and help?
Right. Are you doing some work trade?
Right. Has the wife asked for a raise at work? When you have a full-time caregiver at home, that theoretically would allow you more time maybe to invest in your career, right? You don't have to rush home.
Yes.
So what I would say, this could be more of a long-term piece of advice, is for her to actually, if she wants to, really ramp it up at work even more, take on the extra project, go for that promotion, increase her salary. But even for him too, is there a way to bring home an extra $500 part-time online?
Freelance work.
Because I'm not kidding. You can't beat around the bush here. You can nanny share your way through this maybe, but if you can't, you got to find, you have an income problem. It's not even a budget problem at this point.
Right. That's a good way to change that perspective. Instead of how are we trimming more, how are we earning?
How can we earn more?
Yeah.
3 kids, you're going to have 3 kids for the rest of your life and you're going to have to make more money at some point, right? To support them. Because that's not just 3 kids for childcare today. That's also 3 kids through college in the future. That's 3 kids, sports.
You're always going to be having that overlap.
All the things. So the more you can think about increasing your income too, getting in that mindset is also helpful. And have a ramp back plan, Dad.
Yeah, that's probably.
I would tell that to Mom too. Have a ramp back to work plan. Unless Mom's going to become, a real money maker.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point you may want both incomes again. Okay, so for our next question, we just found out that we're pregnant, and honestly, we're in a pretty solid spot. No debt, a fully funded emergency fund, and we're maxing out our 401k. But I feel like we've been playing defense, and now we need offense. Sports metaphors are not my bag. But what do parents wish they had done financially in those 9 months before the baby arrived? We have time and income. I just don't want to waste it. What a great position to be in.
Fantastic. Great job.
Yes.
A for the day.
Yes.
I would say if you would like to start planning for college sooner than later, you can. Right. We talked about 529 plans.
Yeah.
And that you don't have to wait until your child is born. You can open that up in your name.
Yeah.
Transfer that into your child's name once they're born. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
I think 2, investing. Ramping up your investing right now, because we know that time is the real important variable. For your investments to grow, you need time.
Yeah.
And I think when you have children and those expenses start to creep up, the compromise sometimes we make is in our investments.
Right.
Because they're not immediate.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, well, I'll just maybe invest less in my 401k this year.
Yeah.
Because I've got real, the house is on fire,
Yeah.
So when now you've got sort of money to go around, I would put as much into your investments, your workplace 401k, your IRAs, your brokerage accounts, et cetera, your HSA at work, right? Get those fully maxed out.
Yeah.
Again, because that's going to reap benefits for you, compound for you while you're sleeping.
I would also say that not to forget that the lifestyle creep with the baby is so easy. It's you've been doing so good, but don't let the lifestyle creep of having a baby allow you to sort of lose those good money habits that you set up before.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd say start automating everything.
Yeah, that's a good
to that point. If you want to kind of keep the momentum going that you have built, all the good work that you have done, right?
Yeah.
To have the savings, have the investments, be debt free. Make sure that you're automatically paying off your credit cards every month if you haven't set that up, that you're automatically contributing to all the accounts that you want to be contributing to, so that when your baby's born, you don't have to worry about, addressing all of that. It's already working for you.
Yeah.
And then I would also say, enjoy your money. Do something for yourself. Go on a baby moon.
That sounds
Congratulations.
nice. Yeah.
Invest in yourselves. It's going to get a little harder
It is.
over the next several years, maybe longer,
Longer
but
than that.
you've earned it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Farnoosh brought the pre-baby game plan. Save for the medical bills, not the gear. The baby shower is for all the fun stuff. Throw a big one. Zero shame. People love to support new moms by buying them new gear. Delivery costs are negotiable. Ask your hospital how to save. Even your check-in time matters because the billing clock resets at midnight. Get into the habit of living on less. Before your maternity leave even starts, try living on one salary for a few months and banking the other one. Three kids in daycare costing more than a salary isn't a budgeting problem. It's an income problem. Stop trimming, start earning. And Farnoosh encourages the parent who stays home to come up with a back-to-work plan, because kid expenses don't end with daycare. Already crushing it financially? Congratulations. Open that 529 now. You don't have to wait for the baby to come. Max those investments while you can. Automate everything. And then go book a baby moon. You've earned it. Thanks so much for being here. Be sure to follow Family Money wherever you get your podcasts.